You want to see a prime example of how people can make a person who is telling the truth appear crazy to the world? Watch the show Smallville. Smallville, a classic good show, and it's about Superman. Watch season 3, episode 8. Everything that Lex Luthor goes through in that episode is a prime example of what I just said. In that episode, let's just say Lex was right all along. Look at what he goes through, and look at how the pills, the prescribed pills, the drugs, and of course, people with money can try to clean up evidence just to make someone appear mental. And if you think that doesn't happen to people, it does and it can. Let's just say in that episode, Lex goes through a traumatic event. Lex then begins to go down rabbit holes within his own family, his father, of course. He begins to find out truths from his past life. He begins to solve old crimes that his father was part of. He also began to have curiosity of Clark Kent, which is, Superman. And that episode shows you how his father tries to gaslight him. His father hires a psychiatrist for his son. The psychiatrist was in on it also, trying to gaslight Lex. And the psychiatrist was also helping Lex's father with an underground laboratory working on experiments, no, doing experiments on people, on the mind, underground in the labs, quiet work. This is the psychiatrist. And every time Lex would hit them with facts, hit them with truth, they gaslit him. They gaslit him to saying his mind isn't right. He isn't thinking clearly. Don't have you, they love to say that. People love to use that term, right? When somebody's speaking truth or saying your mind, something ain't wrong with you. You're not thinking clearly. Your mind. And in the later episode, Clark Kent reveals his powers to Lex by saving Lex from a car that was going to crash into him. And Clark pretty much jumped in front of the car, splitting the car, and with his hands pushing it out the way. That's how Lex was like looking at it like, oh snap, like your powers. And the psychiatrist comes to the scene, and she comes with the people, and he's yelling at them that showed up, like the people that showed up. Lex is yelling at them, telling them about what Clark did, and telling them everything that he saw. And of course, Clark wasn't there when the people showed up because, he did his famous quick disappearance. A little quick flash. The psychiatrist told the people with her to take Lex away because he wasn't safe around people because of his mind. Even while they were taking Lex, he was yelling the truth to them. And the messed up part was his father and the psychiatrist, especially his father, knew that Lex was telling the truth because his father was not only investigating Clark Kent secretly, but he also witnessed strange events and seen stuff with his own eyes about Clark Kent too. But again, they still continued to gaslight Lex Luthor when he spoke about it. His own father and the psychiatrist, they gaslit him. No, your mind. No, you're not thinking clear. But they knew he was telling the truth. And they were saying that his mind was playing tricks on him and the stuff he was going through, it's not what he was seeing when he was seeing. Oh, man. So with that episode alone, that episode is a prime example of how narcissists and how people can try to make the truth teller appear crazy when that person uncovers truths, start going down rabbit holes, knows truths, and when someone is getting close to the truth. And if you've never seen the show, check it out. It's a classic, a good show. And if you haven't seen it, and if you are curious into what I'm talking about, just watch season 3, episode 8, and you'll see just exactly how far people will go to gaslight someone speaking truth and what that person goes through while they are seeing the truth. And if you see the way that episode ends with Lex being put into an institution and the people who put him in there gaslit him, knew everything he said was true, including the psychiatrist who was in on it, ask yourself, how many people, truth tellers, psychics, people going through their first spiritual awakening, how many of those people are in those kind of institutions, in hospitals, and all of them, and all those people being put in these places are telling the truth? And all those people in those institutions seeing what they saw all know something, and none of them are crazy. Even in the episode, the drugs, the pills that Lex was on was to make him appear crazy. And the pills weren't even working. They were messing him up even more. And that was the plan all along in the show. Let's not forget, the word pharmacy means pharmakia in Greek. It means sorcery, witchcraft, or the use of magical potions and drugs for manipulation, poisoning, or occult purposes. You can Google that. That's exactly what it tells you what pharmacy means. Pharmacy means pharmakia in Greek. That's the meaning to it. And Lex in the show was smart because he didn't take the pills. So ask yourself, all those pills that they give these people in these institutions and hospitals, the pills, the pharmakia, even with people taking now. Think about it. Think about it. So think about all those whistleblowers out there, the black sheeps, the truth tellers. Just like when someone goes through their spiritual awakening for the first time, when you start to see the weirdness, the shapeshifting, the people you know and don't know begin to act funny and weird towards you, when you begin to feel the energy, question your reality, start seeing things weird, scripted, you start seeing the theatrics, you start seeing things. Every spiritual awakening person that went through a spiritual awakening, every person you knew, including family, well, let me tell it to you. Every spiritual awakened person either got put in cuffs or in a hospital, and every person you knew, including family, gaslit you and said the famous, "It's all in your head, your mind. I don't know what's going on or what's happening to you. Your mind, your mind. You're not thinking right or clear. This is I'm not. You're acting strange. This new you. What is this?" They gaslit you when you went through that. You was gaslit. And that's the famous line they love to do out here with the mind. And you saw what you saw and you felt what you felt, right? And you began to go down rabbit holes. You began to question. And let's not forget, who is the reason behind the spiritual awakening? The Most High God Himself is the reason for the spiritual awakening. The Most High God Himself. You just didn't just do it just because. The Most High God unplugged. The veil, the eye opened. See? So the Most High God Himself is the reason why. So when that veil gets removed from those eyes and those spiritual eyes open, the discernment kicks in. And everyone and everything around you gets exposed. And you see through the illusions, the theatrics. And you begin to question everything. You start to see people for who they really truly are. You start seeing things, right? The truth in the people. And then that's when the smear campaign begins, which also happened to Lex Luthor in the episode, by the way. The smear campaign. There's always got to be a smear campaign. um, by the same people who gaslit him and those who try to gaslight you too. And they try to manipulate the minds of other people about the what Lex is going through, just like you, spiritual awakening. Those people that gaslight, they try to manipulate other people's minds into what's going on with you in order to have people look at you a certain way, even though that you know what they know, you know what you're talking about. And that's the same thing that a narcissist would love to do. That's what narcissists do. So just think about it. So just think about all of that and watch season 3, episode 8. Even Google it, season 3 episode, or YouTube it, and see how they did Lex. See how they did him wrong in that episode. And he was right all along. And the interesting thing is that in the show, they used a traumatic moment in his life, which he was also set up in that event to then gaslight him and use that moment as an excuse as to why he was acting the way he was and saying the things he was saying when it was all the truth, when he started to see things. How they gaslit him into that. Uh-huh. See that episode, think about what I said, and see with all these stories I hear with spiritual awakening things, the spiritual things, and what happens to people telling the truth, why they put into these stuff, and the gaslight that goes behind that. So if you see that the psychiatrist in the show was part of that and knew Lex was right, but played with his mind and gaslit himself, no, but was also experimenting on people, because that show also talks about, like they clone Tyrone. That show, People Money, they got their little labs, they do experiments on people in the show, experiments with minds and doing things on the low. Sometimes even the government don't know, but they do things on the low. The psychiatrist knew about the underground work, was part of that work, experimenting. So think about that. And they gaslit him, Lex, when he was right. So think about all these people in those institutions, right? Doctors and all that stuff. That knows about what people are talking about. Think about that. Think about that. And then in the next episode, it is in the institution because, of course, Lex does get out, Clark does what he does, and but the people in there have powers. All in those institutions, powers, gifted, powers and gifted in these institutions. Taking the pills, of course, but they were gifted. They knew what they were talking about. They had powers. So now think about the institutions out here in the hospitals with people going through a spiritual awakening. I saw what I saw. Oh, they're making them appear gifted spiritual people in these institutions. Gifted people in these institutions. Are they really crazy? Are they? You hear the coughing? Or were they gaslit by people close to them and those in these hospitals? Gaslit them. Try to mess with their mind. See? You already just Google the word pharmacy, pharmakia, tells you about that. Sorcery, the Greek, right? Sorcery. And look at the word government, break it down. Control mind control. Look at the programming, predictive programming, all spiritual. Then you start talking about the Most High, God, and look at how, even when you start talking about God, the devil, light, dark, but look at how that's the gaslighting with that too. Think about it.